How's everyone doing? Everybody, today I want to talk about my favorite 22 rifle from all time. And I have probably owned somewhere close to 20 or more 22 rifles. And this current this that you see right here, in the last video I made on the Ruger Mark II, I pretty much made the point if I could only own two 22 caliber guns, a rifle and a pistol, it would be the CZ455 and the Ruger Mark II. Now, I talked extensively about the Ruger Mark II and why that is my favorite 22 pistol. So if you're into pistols, go check that out. But if you're curious about this CZ455, then let me go ahead and fill you in. I got targets. We're going to talk about ammunition selection today. We're going to talk about various other 22 rifles I've owned and owned and shot, and just why I truly believe this one is just a cut above the rest in most every way. I mean, these are outstanding rifles. Now, let me give you a quick history lesson here. This is the Borno rifle, BRNO. You know, it's made by Czech Firearms. Now they have the CZ USA. That's been going on for a while now, sometime around 2011 or so. And now they have newer models too. I said this is a 455. They also have the 457. I own one of those as well. It's a Lux model with a European walnut stock. On this particular 455, I chose the synthetic plastic, polymer stock because I wanted it to be weatherproof. I wanted something that there's no possibility of warping or, this is for hunting and target shooting, and I just like the all black look. I was okay with that. Typically, I get wood though, but on this one, I figured, well, just from the ground up, I want this to be the most accurate 22 rifle I can put together. And even to prove that point, if you look at my muzzle brake, I have a outstanding fancy muzzle brake for a 22, just so there can be no strange pressure. I mean, I just want that bullet to release from the crown of the barrel as perfect as possible, because some of these little 22 bullets, they go up to $30 a box or more. Like Wolf Gold Medal Match, or the Eli stuff, or the what is the other RWS, I believe, RWS, yeah, RWS, and I've tested that ammunition in this gun, and I, believe it or not, I have a favorite that's affordable, so just stay tuned. But just getting into the brief history on this, yes, Czech Firearms, that's the manufacturer, CZ. Now, in 1934 and actually 1943 and 44, so 1943 and 44, it's right there in the middle of World War II. What pretty much was happening is there was a lot of K98 rifles, the Carabiner 98 8 millimeter Mauser, and a lot of these rifles were being converted into 22 trainers. And pretty much this became a thing. And in Czechoslovakia, that's when they started, fooling with this concept. And there was a rifle that was made, the ZKM 451. It was produced, it was developed on the request of occupied German authority, so that this ZK M451 went back to that period of time. Now get this, the ZKM 451 bolt action training rifle first appeared in 1947, and then by 1956 the Borno Model 2 ZKM 452 was a refined version of that CZ Model 1, the ZKM 451 that I just mentioned. So by 1956, these were military trainer rifles, and they had the refined version. Now, they make several models. There's like the Varmint, I know there's the American. I have the 457 Lux. I believe this here is the Varmint with the black synthetic stock with the 20-inch barrel. I know my Lux model has a 24-inch barrel. I'm going to get into barrel length as well. But one thing I'll say about these rifles, now I have a Hawk scope on this one because Hawk it's a 4x12 power scope, and it has a very fine adjustment that comes all the way down to 10 yards out to infinity, and it's a very clear scope, and it was popular at the time and had good reviews. I've had no problems with it. Now, this is a heavy cold hammer forged barrel. The bolt here, very nice bolt. On the 450, on the 455, I can just hold the trigger like the old-fashioned style and the bolt comes right out. But it's solid metal, and you see the safety on the back there, the top. Like it's a solid metal safety. The 457 puts the safety more up here on the stock, but I'm fine with the safety being on the bolt. To me, I actually prefer this design. I just think it's smart. Now, if I, hold the trigger there, I could easily put the bolt back in, just like a Mauser. This is designed off the Mauser, the K98 Mauser, and it's a very well-made action, very smooth. And they've designed it with these little 5-round metal magazines that are quite expensive, so you don't want to lose these. I have about 3 of them. And these are 22 LR, 22 long rifle chambered guns. And this one here is CZ USA Kansas. So it was imported somewhere in Kansas, made in Czechoslovakia. But it looks impressive for a 22, but wait till I show you guys the groups. Now about barrel length, I will say that a heavy barrel is known to deal with vibrations better. And it's a heavier platform, which often can stabilize your aim. These little bipods, little Harrison style bipods are very nice. I do have that fancy, that's actually a 308 muzzle brake that it just happened to fit the thread perfectly, and it looks like it was built for this gun, and it gives me a very good harmonic balancing when the bullet exits the crown, so I've left it on there. But this is just a 20-inch barrel, and with that, that muzzle brake, it makes it look like it's a 23.5 or a 24-inch barrel, but it's just a 20-inch barrel. Now, there was a video on YouTube not too long ago. There was a guy that had a competition 22 target rifle that had a $2,000 barrel or something wild like that, and he started at 40 inches or something wild like that, and he just kept cutting it down an inch, running chronograph and testing the accuracy. And that man found that 20 inches, it was like 19.5 or 20 inches, that was really where all the powder had burned, you had your maximum velocity, and any extra barrel from that point on really just created drag. Uh, so that was his findings. So as long as you have a 20-inch barrel, you have the ability to kind of have the apex for most 22 ammunition loads to have the most accurate rifle possible, 20-inch. And you can find that video, I'm sure. It was a pretty neat video, but so I like the length. Now my 457 Lux has the 24-inch barrel, and it's an outstanding rifle as well. Funny enough, I wish I had my Lux here. I just have this one, but this is just as accurate as that 457. And let me show you. I have a target from the 457, and before I get into this, I'm shooting CCI ammunition. So if you look right here, this is standard velocity, which is my favorite 22 ammunition. This stuff right here. It's the old and the new style box. But if you look at that group right above the boxes there, that's 100 yards, and that's less than a quarter inch. And that's like 5 shots, 5 or 6, I can't remember, in one hole. And my 457 did that, which I don't have here to show you today, but it's just like this, just with a walnut stock, but it doesn't have the heavy barrel. It's the Lux model. It's $629 on their website right now. You probably can find it for $100 cheaper somewhere online. But it's a beautiful European hardwood, bolt action just like this, but it's the 457 with the newer style safety, which it's just fine. It's just more adjustment. You can do more adjustments to the trigger, but I think the trigger is excellent on here, and they give you a solid metal, trigger guard. Everything's metal on this gun except for the stock, which I requested it to be. I chose the plastic variant because I wanted to use this for all weather hunting. So, but this gun right here, it's very capable of printing groups just like, and this is 100 yards. Let me just say that it's 100 yards. I'm not making this up. That's one of the best groups I've ever shot in my life. possibly the best group, and it was with a 22 rifle. And you see that that's CCI standard velocity, but see the Blazer, it's cheaper. It opens up. And the thing is, Blazer probably breaks the sound barrier, but this CCI 22LR standard velocity, see they say 1070 FPS. So if I'm correct, this stuff here, it's 1070 both boxes, and this stuff here is kind of blurry there, but it's not expensive. It's 350 a box or cheaper generally. And I've spent $25, $30 on Eli or that or Wolf Gold Medal Match, 22. And that stuff's plenty accurate as well, but I've had my best groups, believe it or not, with just standard velocity target. So this is the stuff I'm going to buy, and I have. I've bought probably 50 boxes of this stuff just in an ammo can somewhere, and I'm set. I'll never buy 22 ammunition for the rest of my life because I'm not going to shoot. I probably have 6,000 rounds of the stuff. So, and it didn't break the bank, and that's one of the other great things about shooting a 22, which is why the Czech government wanted a trainer in 22, because you don't always need that 8 millimeter Mauser, full power rifle when you're trying to learn how to shoot, and you're going to be putting, would you rather train with 100 rounds or train the soldier with 15 rounds, because that's all the military could afford. I guess it's like that in some places, but it's just a smart idea. But of course, today we train with the 5.56, and now they're moving to a new round, I hear. So, but anyways, outstanding rifles, outstanding accuracy. Now, since I was talking about 5.56, here's a Remington 700 that I have, just to give you an idea of the accuracy comparison. I've actually had, here's the 22 right here that you just saw, and then here is the 5.56. And as you can see, I have 3 shots. Perfecta, that's a kind of an off-brand from Fiocchi that was sold through Walmart for a period of time. Then I have a Savage rifle. Uh, that's on this side. These are both Savage, but the others are a Remington 700. That's that cheap Monarch. That was the groups I was getting with Monarch from Academy, and then Red Army Standard that was down here, and then the Perfecta by Fiocchi. It was definitely a better group. And then as I continued, got into reloading, here's a lesser rifle. Here's a Savage Axis. You can see I kind of connected the dots here. It still shot the best with that Perfecta. That's a 1 MOA group, but the rest of them opened up. That's a cheaper rifle. That's not a heavy barrel or a target rifle. Here is a Sig Sauer M400 Ti that I had that's in, the 5.56, the 223 caliber. They're so similar. I'm just going to include them together. But yeah, that wasn't very accurate. That's not a bolt gun. That's like the piston style AR-15 gas blowback there. Uh, when I say piston, I'm talking about the bolt, that rotating bolt style, because I know a piston action. Well, I'm not going to get too technical here. Now, this here was with the ADI. That's an Australian company, and then I had some Federal 62 grain, but that was some good ammunition. And that there, so I'm just showing these targets. Here's my last one to show. Here's with a Mossberg MVP in 5.56, and this here was my custom reloads, and it was stacking them, really nice groups, half-inch groups. I wasn't trying too hard when I shot this. I just was shooting one afternoon, but yeah. But just the point that I'm making is my best group of all time really was with a 22, and this is at 100 yards. So that just goes to show you these 22s can keep up with an AR-15 or a Remington 700 and 223 even at 100 yards. I mean, if you find a day when the wind is not blowing too much, on a windy day you'll do a little bit better with the 5.56 because at 100 yards the wind will blow a 22 long rifle a little bit more. But if you find a day with no wind, Or if you're shooting at like 35 yards or something, even on a windy day, it won't do much. But these are very accurate rifles, and they keep up with a 5.56 from my experience in accuracy if you're within 100 yards. So something to think about. A lot less power, 1170 feet per second versus 3,200 with the 5.56. You're getting a 40 grain bullet with the 22. You're getting a 55 grain bullet, generally speaking, with a 5.56. So not a lot of difference there, but the power is, you know, a lot different because you're getting triple the velocity uh, with the 5.56. But they're both 22 caliber bullets. It's just crazy. Uh, when it comes to rabbit, squirrel, small game, these are outstanding. I really like the bolt action, like I said. You can let the firing pin down slowly by holding the trigger. And then that cocks the firing pin when you raise up. Then I can let it down slowly. And you see it go down right here too. You can see it. So you never have to dry fire your gun. That's a little trick with a bolt action rifle. Uh, the scope mounts, the rings that I have here, I ordered from the CZ website. They have a certain type of rail. It's not Picatinny. It's something that's kind of proprietary. But I ordered that particular ring, which it's like $45 for a set of rings. Generally, I buy steel rings. I believe this time, I can't remember if these are steel or aluminum. They look like they're aluminum, but this is what the company recommended. So it's been just fine so far. Generally, I like rings that are a lot beefier than that, but just something, the sturdier the better. When you're out in the field, you're going to bump your scope occasionally. You try not to, but it happens. But anyways, the CZ 452, 455, and 457 will always be my favorite 22 rifle. I just enjoy the bolt action. I enjoy that hair trigger, just really taking a deep breath, holding it, just focused on those sights, and just I like pulling those little quarter-inch groups at 100 yards, and these guns definitely do it. And I've killed so many squirrels, so many rabbits. I've shot a few foxes. Man, I'm telling you, these 22s, they'll just knock them right over. So it's all about shot placement. But if you get a good behind the shoulder shot on a small game animal, that's it. I would even venture to say, it's illegal to hunt with a 22 long rifle for deer or anything big like that, but I have numerous stories of my grandfather telling me how many deer he's killed with a 22 shooting them in the neck. I've always been tempted to try it, but have never done it because it's just not accepted. So, but it's funny because the 223 is, still a 22 caliber bullet in diameter, circumference there. So, just something to think about. Well, you guys, I think I've rambled enough here on the Borno, the CZ455. If you have this rifle, or if you have shot one of these, or if you were looking for a good 22, now you know what to get. I better say this: I've had all types of old Stevens models. I've had Vostok, Russian Olympic target rifles. Uh, I've had Ruger 1022s, which I was not really impressed with as much as, it worked well with the 10 round box magazine, but those little banana mags they try to sell, I had one with a fancy folding stock. I'd spent 600-700 bucks on that thing and it just would jam, jam, jam. I was very disappointed from the Ruger 1022. And I know they're excellent. Apparently if you get one that runs right, mine didn't. I tried lubricating those mags, switching them out. I tried ordering the Ruger brand 33 round or 30 round, whatever they were. Couldn't get it to run. But the CZ 455, 457, 452, that's my favorite. I'd much rather hit the target and know that my one shot's going to work every single time. And I never get light strike with these. Never. Not at all. Well, this is the scripture that I wanted to share today. It's time to move on. This is a Christian channel. Let me go ahead and read a section on testing the spirits because I wouldn't want anybody to be deceived. And listen to what the elder John, St. John, says in 1 John chapter 4. He says, "Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. By this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is from God." So what John is saying here, we believe in the virgin birth. The Spirit of God, the Word of God, became flesh, born of a virgin, the Son of God that is like equal to the Father. Fully God, yet fully man. He's born of a woman by the Spirit of God, the Word manifested, right? Jesus, the Creator, the Son. I'm going to keep things Father, Son, and Spirit. It's like, you have water, vapor, and ice. They're three, but they're one. We have the Father on the throne in heaven, the Son sent to earth, born, same as the Father, same seed, the divine seed of God, the Word manifesting fully in the Son of God. Hopefully, I'm making sense. I'm trying to keep it in the Trinity because it's important. We have three persons, but one. They are one. It's the Trinity. Now, Christ came in the flesh. He says, "By this you know the spirits." By this you know the Spirit, excuse me. By this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is from God. See, a lot of heretics back then were saying that Christ did not come in the flesh. Many people tried to say it was a spirit, or it was just, a ghost, or there's many different words it could be. They just did not believe God manifested in the flesh. And every spirit that does not confess Jesus is from God, this spirit is of the Antichrist. Now, the Jews, they did believe Jesus as coming in the flesh, but they didn't see Jesus as God's son. He was rejected by them, so they were made blind. That's different. But there were actually Christians that used the name Christian that just didn't believe Christ came in the flesh. We had that problem. We've had many heretics that have risen up over the years in church history and tried to, say that Christ was not human. And it's important, it's imperative that he was, because he had to be fully God and fully man, and he had to condemn sin in the flesh. And he could only do this if he was fully human, but yet fully perfection. So you have to understand what the apostle is saying here. He says, okay, and every spirit that does not confess Jesus is not from God. This is the spirit of Antichrist, of which you have heard that is coming, and now is already in the world. You are from God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. They are from the world, therefore they speak as from the world, and the world listens to them. We are from God. He who knows God listens to us. He who is not from God does not listen to us. By this we know the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. So when you think of the spirit of truth, we know Christ came in the flesh. God sent his only son, as I said, born of a woman, but divine. He's fully God and fully man, and he's sent to take away the sin of the world, to condemn sin, having done this in the flesh. Now, Jesus said something. He said, "The true worshipers will worship in spirit and in truth." And then he said, "The words that I spoke to you, they are spirit and they are truth." The very word of God is spirit and in truth, right? His word is his spirit, and that's why the word became flesh, right? You can't separate God from his word. He's bound to it. And that's why if you don't know him as your Lord, you're going to know him as your judge, possibly in a day when it's too late. So just take that into consideration. You're living in an age of grace whereby you can confess him as your Lord and believe in your heart that God raised Christ from the dead and you'll be saved. And then we can go before the throne of grace to obtain mercy and find grace and help in a time of need. I mean, it's such a privilege we have, and it's not our righteousness, it's what he did for us, which makes it all the more beautiful. Now, the elder John, he does mention this in one more section. I'm going to read. This is in the second letter of John. And I'm going to start in verse 7. He says, "For many deceivers have gone out into the world, those who do not acknowledge Jesus Christ is coming in the flesh." He's getting into the same thing again. "This is the deceiver and the antichrist. Watch yourselves, that you do not lose what we have accomplished, but that you may receive a full reward." So the apostle, he's concerned that all the building and the labor and the work that they had labored in the Lord, if people had turned away to these false Christs and gone after, some version of Christ according to another Jesus, another gospel, like Paul would speak of, you know, he was worried that his labor might be in vain and they would not receive a full reward. Possibly people that turned aside from the truth could fall out of grace. Listen to what he says here. If I continue, "Watch yourselves that you do not lose what we have accomplished, but that may receive a full reward." And then he says, "Anyone who goes too far and does not abide in the teaching of Christ does not have God." Can you think of anyone that has gone too far with things of religion? "The one who abides in the teachings, he has both the Father and the Son. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, do not receive him into your house, and do not give him a greeting, for the one who gives him a greeting participates in his evil deeds." Yeah. So be careful to those that preach another Jesus, another gospel. Anyways, I just wanted to share that message. It is important that we know, confess, and understand that the Son of God came in the flesh to do away with sin in and of the flesh, but he was fully God and fully man, perfect divinity. Christology, these are systematic theologies back here from Charles Hodge. I really like Charles Hodge. He was the head of Princeton University way back in the 1800s, but he breaks all this stuff down and it's fascinating. But you guys, I've gone on farther enough tonight. I hope y'all stay blessed. If you have any questions about the CZ455, please just let me know. And man, I'm looking at the time, 27. I'm sorry, you guys, I made this a long one, but y'all have a good night or afternoon or day or wherever.